Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. In studio with me right now, candidate Precinct 4 Lubbock County Commissioner on the Republican side, Chad Seay. Welcome back.
Thank you, Chad. I apologize for my scratchy voice. I've talked so long to so many people and have a little bit of head cold, so I apologize.
That's all right. That's not a problem at all. Obviously, early voting has started. We're in the middle of early voting. Election Day is coming up on November 6th. What have you been doing? Campaign-wise, talking to people? Have you been getting out there and, meeting with folks?
Oh, yeah. Block walking, putting out signs, putting out literature, taking care of a push card that we're going to be having a mailer come out this next week, and just being available to people to talk to me.
What is the Lubbock County Expo Center? Is that now the top thing that folks in the county talk to you about, or is it still roads? Is it getting to kind of one of the basic things that a lot of folks in the county look at is, hey, our roads are in bad condition?
It's the Expo Center. Everybody's talking about the Expo Center.
What are they saying to you?
You have the strict conservatives, no way, no how, the county doesn't need to own anything. Then you have the farmers and the show people and people that would actually be using it, and they're, well, you better vote for this or I'm not going to vote for you.
Yeah.
And my take on it is this has got to be done responsibly. They've got a budget of $50 million that can potentially be raised from the hot tax. Well, the steering committee wants to spend all $50 million with no safety net, and I'm not in favor of that. If we're going to do something, we got to do it responsibly. We're going to have a safety net in there. Me being from construction, there's two ways this can possibly happen. If you take that $50 million and you plan, absolutely we will not spend more than that, you're going to have a builder at risk. That builder at risk will guarantee it'll stay under $50 million. But as prices increase in materials, or if there's shortages or there's labor union problems somewhere else, what we could get is a $50 million structure that we can't actually build what we promised. Mm-hmm. We have to take things away. Or we just let it go out for a general contract, and if there's mistakes, then the general contractor can ask for change orders, which could push that budget over $50 million. And if that happens, then we have to go to the county taxpayers and say, whoops, we messed this up, and we're going to have to raise your taxes, which I'm not willing to gamble the taxpayers' money on something like this.
Well, and you look at, obviously, with construction and your business background, you look at, where we are with this administration and everything else. Construction costs fluctuate. They move. And, one thing that I found interesting about, or one of the quotes from the steering committee at this town hall that you had was, well, we're not going to go to the commissioner's court until we have the $10 million in the bank ready to go for maintenance. Well, how long is that going to be? How long is it? What if it takes 6 months to a year in order to raise that $10 million and actually have that money in the bank? We don't know what the construction cost is going to be in a year from now.
Well, that's correct. There's still a lot of stuff that's unknown. The steering committee is trying to fix these things, but we're already halfway through early voting, and there's still a lot of questions to be raised.
Yeah.
Now, whether this bond passes or if it fails, this Expo Center talk is not going to go away. And if it does fail, I will want to start working with this steering committee still. We have more time to look at it, and maybe we can answer more of these questions. I do think there's a need for an Expo Center. I'm not against an Expo Center. I am against how it's being proposed right now.
You're for doing it the right way.
Correct. We have to have some safety net in there to guarantee that we're not going to put this back on our voters here and the taxpayers.
And I think that's one thing that some of the folks on the steering committee, maybe not all of them, but some of the folks on the steering committee and some of the supporters don't understand is that those of us who have come out, myself, I've come out against it. It's not that we're against any kind of center or anything else. It's the rush to do it. And if you enter into any financial, as a businessman, you're not going to rush into anything that's $50 million or $60 million or anything else. You want to have a plan. You want to have it down in writing and say, okay, this is well thought out. Now we can move forward. That's how the county should act.
Well, as I just built a large aquatic center, we spent nearly a year in preparing documents and getting with engineers and architects, and we had to put a business plan proposal to my bank So they would loan me the money. And if there was one thing wrong, they'd say, well, go back and start again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's how it should be with the people's money too.
Correct.
Whether you think it's the people's, it's somebody's money. If they're coming from out of town or if they live in town, it's somebody's money. And there are a lot of people in town that do rent cars and do rent hotel rooms for folks who do come in. Let's go ahead and take the break. When we come back, there are a lot of other issues facing Lubbock County.
Definitely.
And I want to talk about the medical examiner's office because that's been in the news quite a bit. Also roads and some other areas. So let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we'll continue our visit with Chad Seay, Lubbock County Commissioner candidate for Precinct 4. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. In studio with us is candidate for Precinct 4, Lubbock County Commissioner Chad Seay. And obviously, the County Expo Center has been getting a lot of the focus, recently. One of the other big stories that has popped up that really hasn't been talked about as much as it probably should be is the medical examiner's office. This thing is a disaster right now for Lubbock County, and if you win, you're going to be walking into a really a disaster area as far as the medical examiners go.
Well, here we go again with the ME's office. This has been an ongoing problem going back to Ralph Erdman. Everybody remembers that, the 2020 stories. And now we got another one where we've got nearly 400 death certificates that can't be filled. And the last estimate I've seen that it was going to take $650,000 to get these death certificates signed off on. For that, we should be able to hire 2 medical examiners for an entire year. So
how did we get here?
I don't know. Somebody is not watching what's going on down there, and that's under the control of the current county commissioners. So somebody is dropping the ball somewhere.
So what is your plan if you get elected, you're on the county commissioner's court? How do you address this issue? How do we move forward and right the ship over at the medical examiner's office?
Well, we're going to have to dig in and find out why this stuff is happening. And it may be to a point that we just might need to hire a contractor to come in. We have other medical examiners here in the city that they do stuff for other counties as well. Maybe that's the right approach, but we've got to have some answers, and we got to keep this ME's office off everybody's radar and get it where it's running smoothly.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, what did you say, over 400 death certificates that have
right at 400.
I mean, you look at something like that, and that's a failure of county government, and that's not good. And I know one of the reasons you ran is that you saw failures all over the county government. This is unacceptable.
No, it's not. I mean, this is something that this ME's office runs underneath the county commissioner's court. And if we can't get it right, we either need to get rid of the medical examiner's office or get rid of the county commissioners that oversee it.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into roads and everything else, we talked about your background. Businessman, you own businesses here in Lubbock. This is a full-time job that you're running for. How much time do you think you'll be able to just dedicate to this position?
Probably more than the people that work down in the courthouse want. My day, I generally I can check my aquatic center from my phone anywhere in the world. Very seldom are you ever going to see me there. I have a construction company that we do underground utilities, and we have a lot of big equipment. I generally check in with my superintendent and my foremans at 7 a.m. I'm usually done by 7:30. After that, I'm pretty much free. So I may just be sitting up there twiddling my thumbs and just wandering around the courthouse and going from department to department and just ask them what's going on. Not just the director heads, but the people who actually work in that department. I'd like them to know that I appreciate them working for county government. Sometimes it's not always the funnest job out there, but I want to hear their concerns, not only the voters, but the people who work for the county.
It sounds like you want a culture change.
Oh, most definitely. We've got to have more openness in our county government.
Yeah, absolutely. 770-5790, 1-800-687-0790. When we come back, we'll have another segment with Chad Seay, candidate for Lubbock County Commissioner, Precinct 4. All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO. Let's go to the phones. We've got Chad Seay, candidate for Lubbock County Commissioner, Precinct 4. If we've got a listener who has a question for Chad Seay. John, you're on with Chad Seay. What's your question?
Well, are we going to fund the new ME the same way we're planning on funding the dirt arena? Apparently that same hope did not prove true on the last ME because we lost all the funding from the other counties in the area, and I think that whole salary was based on what was supposed to be, and it turned out not to be. That's all my question is. Can we do something better?
Well, one of the things you have to look at with the ME's office, I know they've replaced a bunch of people, and with the NAG bunch that's coming there taking over, they fired stuff, they've replaced people. We had a chief deputy up there, and then we have another like an assistant deputy that comes in 4 days a week out of Houston. And we had a staff of 12. Well, I know Hidalgo County down in South Texas, they have one ME with a larger population, and they do it with a staff of 5. So we need to look at staffing and what we're spending down there. And like I mentioned before, if this doesn't look like it's something that we can get a handle on, maybe we should just hire a contractor.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, John. Appreciate it. You do have a Democratic opponent in this race. What are the key differences between you two?
Well, basically, you have a Democrat. You look what the Democrats are doing now. My opponent, he's been involved with politics for more than 20 years, with state politics and local politics. He's been a union organizer. And so I'm just a business owner that wants to get county government correct from a business standpoint. Look what Trump has done. He's not a politician at all. He's not polished. And look at our economy with what he's done. I want to take that same business approach to county government. We've got to start living within our means.
Yeah. Let's talk about roads. That's something that it always pops up for Lubbock County commissioners. There are a lot of complaints about how roads aren't being fixed, or that roads are in poor condition throughout the county. I know Woodrow Road is always being brought up. What's your plan on tackling some of those road issues?
Well, when it comes to Woodrow Road, if we have main thoroughfares that we know in advance are going to build up, Woodrow Road should have been addressed at least 10 to 12 years ago. Now, everything's been pushed back to right now where it's a dangerous road in the morning when kids go to school. Yeah. With me being a not actually a dirt contractor, but a utility contractor, where I've had to cross county roads, repair county roads, take care of ditches, make sure that I put them back correctly. So I do understand that. And I own a lot of the same equipment the county does. But I have been going around to dirt contractors that build roads for a living that they have to warranty, but they also have to watch their margins and where they're profitable. So talking to people who actually build it for money and have to make money doing this, let's figure out what they're having to do, because they have to warranty it. When the county builds a road, they don't have to warranty anything. So we got to get a group of people together that can build these the best way we can, that keep them in good shape for the longest period of time, because they know how to warranty them. So we got to get a group of people together to, when we build a road, we got to make sure we're doing it responsibly and within the budget, and it's going to last.
Yeah. Visiting with Chad Seay, candidate for Lubbock County Commissioner Precinct 4, taking a look at public safety. When it comes to the sheriff's budget, this came up earlier about a couple of months ago with the current county commissioner's court, and there was some back and forth here about the sheriff's budget. What are we looking at for the future? What would you like to see either change or not change with the sheriff's budget?
Well, when they came out right at the budget time, they were going to cut Sheriff's Road budget by 16.6%. That's horrendous. I mean, they can't pay for updates on their Kevlar vests. They have a limited lifespan. Then weapons, when they train, they wear out. And you got to do training if you're going to be proficient as being a sheriff's department. They have to rotate their vehicles in and out. I mean, how would you feel if you're one of the sheriff's deputies having to do a chase and you're doing more than 100 miles an hour, but you've got a vehicle that has 250,000 miles on it?
Yeah.
At any time, something go wrong and we're putting your life at risk. So we got to make sure we continue to fund the sheriff's department. You see what's going on with the drugs we have, the thefts we have, the murders we're having, the violence we're having. And it's only, as we grow, it's only going to get worse. We've got to make sure that we support our sheriff's department, because the first mandate, when you look, the duties of a county commissioner is public safety. Public safety being the sheriff's department. Ever since we started Lubbock County, we have always had a sheriff. We may not have always had a road department. We may not have always had a DA's department, but we have always had a sheriff's department from the beginning of this county.
How many times have you met with Sheriff Rowe?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
It's been a bunch.
Which is great, because you've been hearing from him what they need and what they don't need. Have you heard from anything from Earl where you go, yeah, I think you're going a little too far on a request, or does he like to keep everything kind of right down the middle?
He really keeps it right down the middle. I mean, he has showed me his budget. He doesn't look like it's wasteful. When he starts out, he has shown me he starts basically with the zero-based budgeting, and he puts in there just what he needs.
That's great.
And if the county commissioners cut it back, he just has to make ways to fund it. So maybe some things have to get cut that were really needed, and it may cost us more by cutting now from the future, but he starts with a zero base, and I like that.
Yeah. It's one thing when you talk about Lubbock County, and I think there are a lot of folks who they don't get how big Lubbock County actually is. There's a lot of terrain, for whether it's the sheriff's department, whether it's going to be precinct 4, there's a lot of area to cover in Lubbock County.
Well, population-wise, we're the 11th largest county in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people here. We have a lot of roads. And for the size of our county, I mean, it's one of the larger counties in Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Early voting is going on right now. Election day is on November 6th. What are you going to be doing between now and then to make sure people get out and vote? You're seeing a lot of people already who have gotten out and voting. How do you encourage people to get out and vote right now?
Well, it's not only important for just local government, it's for state government as well, and for the control of our United States. So you've got to get out and vote. You got to make your opinion out there. I've been block walking. I've been handing out literature, handing out signs. I'll show you my shoes one day. When I started this back the first year, they're completely flat on the bottom. My wife said she's going to take them and she's going to have them bronze. That way future people say, hey, I did my job. I did my work. I did my walking. Yeah. And I enjoy the block walking as much as anything, getting out and hearing what people have to say and having their opinion heard.
Well, I mean, it almost sounds, you're talking about doing the same thing inside the courthouse.
Yes.
You want to talk to people. You want to get to know the people who are there and increase the transparency and let them come to you if there are any issues that you don't know about.
I want the people to come see me. The only way I'm going to figure out how to fix this thing is I got to hear the concerns out there. And if I'm up there and don't have anything else to do, I plan to actually walk through the courthouse, see the different departments, and visit with the people who work for the county and just let them know, from a standpoint of being one of the leaders in the county, I want to know, let them know that they're appreciated and get their input.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell folks where they can get more information about you.
They can go to chadwc.com or info@chadwc.com, or you can go to chadwaynesee@gmail.com. If you need to reach me by phone, it's 806-281-3184.
All right. Chad Seay, Republican candidate for Precinct 4. Thank you.